Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special podcast series created in honor of Black Maternal Health Week. I'm Dr. Akesia McMillan, and this week exists to center the voices, leadership, and lived experiences of Black mothers while advocating community led solutions that promote healing, trust, and collaboration. Around the United States, Black women continue to face significant disparities in mental health outcomes, yet within our communities, we also hold powerful traditions of resilience, advocacy, and collective care. And that's why this year's theme centers around the soul framework, meaning that we are speaking, observing, understanding, and leading. And so to speak means that we create space for truth and lived experiences. To observe means we listen to our bodies and to one another. To understand means that we seek knowledge rooted in science, culture, and community wisdom. And to lead means that we use the knowledge to transform maternal health for future generations. And during these series, we are hosting expert interviews and talking about some of the most critical health conditions that are affecting Black mothers, including hypertension, sepsis, hemorrhaging, gestational diabetes, and maternal health. We'll also discuss these conditions, the research behind them, and how women can advocate for their health and the role of community organizations like Shades of Motherhood Network in supporting families. And so this conversation is about where awareness, empowerment, and change, because when Black mothers are supported, informed, and heard, families can thrive, communities grow stronger, and generations are protected. Today, our conversation centers around pregnant at work, your rights, your health, your voice. This is what every woman should know about workplace protections during pregnancy. And we are honored to host today Patricia Viana Cruz. So, welcome to the show, Viana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm extremely excited to talk about it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the conversation. And so, for those that might not know you, I'll just share a little bit about your background and the work that you do. And so, Patricia is an accomplished human resource consultant, entrepreneur, and former behavioral health professional who brings a powerful global perspective to workplace advocacy for women. She is originally from Brazil, where she began her career in psychology and worked as a behavior analyst, operating her own practice for nearly a decade. While deeply committed to helping others, she eventually experienced professional burnout, an experience that led her to reflect, reset, and pursue a new career path. In 2020, during the height of the global pandemic, Patricia made the courageous decision to move to the United States in search of new opportunities and purpose. While navigating a new country and career transition, she ignited her passion for human resources and quickly immersed herself in the field. She went on to work in HR within a county government agency and later private organizations and nonprofits and earned her senior HR certification while learning the complexities of employment law in the United States, especially in Washington state, which is one of the most regulated employment environments in the country. Today, Patricia is the founder of her own consulting business, Efficient HR Solutions, based in Spokane, Washington, where she supports small businesses, nonprofit organizations, and immigration law firms. Her work focuses on helping organizations build healthy workplace cultures while ensuring employees, especially immigrants, understanding their rights and protections. Through her partnership with Shades of Motherhood Network, Patricia is passionate about educating employees and employers on workplace protections related to pregnancy, paternal leave, accommodations, and bereavement support because many people suffer in silence simply because they do not know their rights.
Yeah.
Her story reflects resilience, reinvention, and commitment to helping people feel supported, protected, and empowered during one of the most important seasons of life, motherhood and fatherhood.
Mm.
So please help me welcome Patricia to the show.
Thank you, Rikisha, so much for being here. I am extremely excited to help this year on the Black Maternal Week and support our great Black women in Spokane on how to they can know about their rights and voice themselves with the employers.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the conversation. And so you have a very unique journey, Patricia. So you came from Brazil to the US during the pandemic, which is courageous and inspiring. And so how did this transition really shape your perspective on people's mental health and workplace support, especially helping mothers to navigate major life changes?
Well, Lucretia, my transition taught me how vulnerable people can be or can feel during this life change. So moving to another country during the pandemic made me deeply aware of how much emotional stability depends on feeling safe and
Yeah.
also informed and supported. So I have to learn everything United States to be informed and feel supported. And I think this connects directly with the motherhood because pregnancy and postpartum are already major transitions.
Yes.
And if a woman is also worried about losing her job, not understanding her rights, being treated differently, or not knowing that her partner may also have rights to take leave to support her during that time, that
Yeah.
can be extremely overwhelming for the women.
Mhm.
So my background and my personal journey made me more sensitive to the fact that workplace support is not just about policy. It's also about dignity, like
Yeah.
communication and psychological safety. So women need both legal protection, but also human support. The women is when they get pregnant and during the pregnancy they have so much hormones and fluctuation like emotions and they need to feel supported during that time, and families need to understand that this protection often extend beyond just the mother. So if the mother is having some pregnancy
Mhm.
situation that require more accommodation, require more help, that the partner also has the right to be with the mother during that time. So um, I learned that acknowledge those
Yeah.
laws make me feel more supported and make me feel safe.
Hmm. And I just love the fact that you just shared that because so many women, as you shared, when they're going through whether it's a job loss, changes within the employment environment, or just health issues that they may be experiencing, having the support that is needed is so essential. And so the fact that you recognize that and you offer that through your organization is so needed, for women. And maybe that support and that foundation of having that stem from your career because you were working in psychology and behavior analysis. And so, how would you say that has really influenced the way that you approach human resource and workplace advocacy today?
Yeah, so this my background in psychologists helped me see things that happen behind the policies issues. So when I start here in your HR, I noticed that HR was only compliance. Actually, nobody likes HR here when I start here. And I noticed that's because HR is majority focused on compliance and protect the employer, like I make sure that the employer is protected. But because of my background, I can see that HR is not just compliance, but it's also I can see human behavior over there. I can see fear. I can see communication, or not having a communication. I can see trust. I can see the power dynamics. So when an employee is delay to disclose a pregnancy or is afraid to ask for accommodation, this is not just a policy problem, but also a human behavior problem that the person is scared or fear about the judgment or is going to have retaliation or being seen as the less capable to do the job, to get some promotion. So during that time that I am doing this and dealing with a woman pregnant, I always said like, that's your right. That's what you need to do it before you get like your time off. You're gonna have to contact with me during your absent or your leave time. Make sure that you give to your baby the best you can do it because that time passed fast. So I think my background helped me listen differently those women, and also I think my experience is different from when I was 26 and now with the 45. I can tell the women that even though if you decide to not come back to work because now you're going to prioritize your kid, is also a great decision and a big decision because if you can do that, do it. The career is can wait. Your kid's gonna grow. So I bring those expectation that usually women feel like I need to be a mom, but I also need to go back to work. So,
Mm,
like this is a new time in your life. So make sure that you're doing what is the best for you and your baby. And then the work came later, the career, you can come back later on it. So
mm,
I try to help them differently on that.
mm,
And I also help coach employers, especially the small one, to respond to that with empathy, with the structure, not just the assumption that person is asking for accommodation is being lazy, or we do know that pregnancy can also bring so much changes on the daily things that women have. So I try to make them be much more supportive
mhm.
than attacking employer through this situation with the women.
Hmm. And I hear you just sharing so much of you're putting the person over policy. Not that policy is not important, but really looking at the human side of what people are actually experiencing as they are going through the pregnancy and providing that support that is needed. And it just sounds like with the work that you do, you really serve as a bridge to bring that level of understanding between the employer, the employee, and even their family environment concerning what it is that they're going through.
Yeah, especially if the women can get the opportunity to, okay, I'm gonna focus on my baby for the first 1 year, 2 years, because as a psychologist, I do know that this is the most important time for the baby to create that uh, feeling of safety.
Mm,
And instead, put a baby on a child care, put on a babysitter. If the mom can be with the baby during the time, this is
mm,
not a shame on that, like it's if you can do that without the feeling shame. And once the baby grow and you feel safe and you feel that okay, now it's time to go back, the work is going to be there, always going to have a work. Look at me, I changed my career after many years, and I am okay to change my career again in the next 10 years. So career is always there, but the baby is gonna grow. You're gonna lose that most important time on the like when the child. So I'm always giving them that perspective after
mm.
learning that on a long term.
Hmm. Yes, and as you shared, like those first years are so critical to bonding and helping the child to feel safe. And that's where your behavioral analyst psychology background comes into the forefront. And you spent 10 years, running your own practice. And I can only imagine that creates burnout because you're listening to people's challenges, the things that they're experiencing in daily life. And so, from that experience, what were some of the lessons that you learned about being in that space that really helped you to bring that into providing the support in the workplace, setting those boundaries, and mental wellness for women?
Yeah, I still trying work on myself on these boundaries. I think my profile is like be accessible, be responsive immediately, and I think that was caused my burnout with the psychology because I'm always was available for my patient,
Yeah.
and I still trying to work with this on HR now that. Yeah, that's okay to clock out sometimes and not respond email and wait for the day after. So But what I learned is that education without support is not sustainable.
Mm,
So that's why I am back to my therapy because I need to also work on the boundaries to not has a burnout as a HR person in the United States as well.
mm,
So what happened is what I see that, and now speaking specifically of women, not the rest of the community, but just focus on women's. Many women are higher performers but they
mm,
also carrying responsibility at home. So they're expected to perform at high level at work while still
mm,
manage child care, household responsibility, and a lot of time they're being primary support to their family.
yeah.
So for example, a single mother that what I'm seeing now have to adjust her schedule when her child is sick, during the school breaks, and or when childcare is not available or affordable. So in many cases, she is simple following what is required to care a child or
Mm,
what is law in United States to take care of a child, but
mm,
that can directly impact on her ability to work, for the same hours that she was working before or performing the same way because she's exhausting.
mm,
So that's why I think accommodation is not a special treatment, that is
mm,
sometimes that what exactly the employee need to continue to work, make a contribution, feel useful, and
mm,
stay stable for both their professional and personal life. So
mm,
sometimes women just request a part-time job during a certain time, and why not? How we cannot make this happen so the mom is still working but is still taking care of their kids, especially
mm,
when I have a spring break, vacation time. So, and the mom is alone, so
mm,
that's how I try to help them to make sure that the employer can be sensitive to those
mm.
life challenges for women.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned like a key point in what you just shared that many women are afraid to disclose or even ask for the time off. And there's removing the stigma behind it because it is a benefit that is there. It is something that women can use and lean into to help support not only their physical health, their child that is on the way. And so when we're talking about, the fear of whether it's disclosing pregnancy in the workplace because they're afraid of losing their job or being treated differently, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
what are some of the protections that women should know about when it comes to pregnancy in the workplace?
So the first thing women should know that pregnancy itself should not be treated as a reason to push you out.
Mm,
So, or reduce opportunity or punish you. I do know I will be naive that this doesn't happen. I do know that it's happened. However, we have laws that protect
mm,
us against that. So there are federal protection against pregnancy discrimination and also accommodation rights under the Pregnant Workfare Act for many works. Okay, so women has the right to ask for more as extra bathroom rooms. Or
mm,
break rooms. I'm so sorry. So they need to use the rooms, the bathroom more time, so they have this access, or be sitting more time, or have some schedule adjustments, or temporary lifting restriction, or, so. They has the right to use their sick leave time to go to prenatal appointments, for example.
mm,
So we have so many rights that they can use on the job. So they also need to know that after the birth, many workers have a federal protection to pump at the work.
mm,
In Washington, we start this too. So we have to have a reasonable accommodation to give break time in a private place that is
mm,
not a bathroom. So up to 1 year, so they can do that pump for the childbirth. So, and also in Washington State, that we have some additional protection around pregnancy accommodation and leave that can be very significant for the women. So the key message is not assume you have no options. You do have options. Just,
mm.
like a look for those information with your HR person or the employer, or even with the internet that you can see all the information.
Mhm. And I love that you shared that, Patricia, because so many women aren't even educated on our rights or what is authorized within the workplace. So it just seems like you bring a great level of awareness and education to women concerning what their benefits are and how they can utilize those benefits and lean into the rights that they have during their pregnancy.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yes, no, I was just sharing that as you shared that information, many women are not educated on what their rights are.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like your role is to really bring an awareness and education to women so that they can understand what their rights are.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
So, because I still believe that knowledge is our best tool to
Yeah.
advocate for ourselves.
Hmm. Because I know that prior to our conversation today, one of the things that was very eye-opening for me is that you shared that Washington State is one of the most regulated states for employment in the US. And so how can understanding, these protections empower women to really advocate for themselves during pregnancy and then even after childbirth?
Yeah, after California, we are the second most regulated state on labor law. Um, so when women understand the law, or at least get access to the information, that's what I believe, they stop to negotiation from fear. I am so scared they're gonna, discriminate me. I'm gonna lose their promotion. They start to communicate from clarity. Like I know what it is. I know the law. So that changed everything for me. So instead of say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know this is inconvenient, but I'm struggling," they can say, "Hey, I want to continue to do my job well, but I need that reasonable accommodation so I can do my job, but at the same time, I can keep protecting my baby during this pregnancy related limitation." So this shift matters, like you apologize for need accommodation, just asking for the accommodation because you need that accommodation. So when you have the knowledge, this give you confidence. So helps you document what is happening, like so you have better conversation with the employers because it's a structure in real, not just emotional or vague information.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, that education is key. And in the work that you do, you not only help women, but you help a large, diverse body of individuals. And so, with your consulting work with small businesses and even immigration law firms in Spokane, and as well as supporting diverse communities, what are some of the challenges that our immigration community or minority women, what do they face when they're navigating pregnancy and these workplace policies?
So this is so interesting. Um, because not even America knows a lot of laws. Imagine an immigrant, So immigrant and minority women often face like a multiple challenges. So sometimes we have the language barrier that we don't understand. Sometimes there's a fear tied to immigration status. I heard some. Um, Immigrant employees that was asking if they ask for Washington paid medical leave due to some needs to leave could impact in their immigration status, for example. So I have to deal with this fear as well. So even when the law is still protecting them, there is some distrust on an institution, or a history of being dismissed or mistreated. So in
Mhm.
some communities, people may also be less likely to question authority or formally request help. So depend of the country you came from, you were so submissive that you has no voice and scared too much to ask those things.
Mhm.
Um, so also when you see women who work for very small employers where HR is informal or non-existent, so they do not know who to talk, and the employee also has no idea about the laws, and
Mhm.
that's why education matters so much. So rights are only powerful when people know they exist and feel safe enough to use them. So what I try to do is every time that we need have a new law, for example, this year we have some new laws about pregnancy and the pumping, for example, I try to make the addendum, update the policy and present to employees. So that's the new law. So you need to use, you can use. And also to help those small employers in Spokane, I try to make some small workshop using some nonprofit organization to get to this small business to help them to keep in compliance because they just don't know about those laws, you know. So that's the challenge that I have been facing doing that job.
Mm. And I could see that too. And just really, again, serving as that bridge to help employers to understand while supporting women and immigrants as they're navigating these different challenges. And so, like you said, it's being aware of our rights, being aware of the laws. And one of those rights when it comes to pregnancy is just temporary disability. And
Mhm.
many people are unaware that pregnancy may qualify for a short-term disability under certain policies and protections. And so, how can employers better support mothers through these accommodations, protected leave, and then just really compassionate policies, as you shared earlier?
Yeah, so in Washington State, definitely pregnancy is considered as a short-term disability, which it is, like it's a short.
Hmm.
But depend of the pregnancy, the woman is going to have a lot of accommodation related to that. So employers need to stop to treat pregnancy as a disruption and you start to treat it as a normal part of the life that
Yeah.
requires planning, flexibility, and respect. I keep and say to my employers, is life happening? We need to be prepared. If we're not prepared for a person that's going to apply for leave, we are not doing our job. So
Mhm.
the company needs to understand that the life is happening and we need to adjust to that, you
Mhm.
know. So when a woman is pregnant, it's not a disruption. It's just like it's a part of the life. So the best employers create simple process for accommodation requests. So train, supervise on how to respond appropriately and make sure that employees know what option leave exists.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's why I love to work with a nonprofit organization because they're much more human in that part, you
Mhm.
know. So
Yeah.
in Washington, pregnancy accommodation, paid family leave can be provide important support for the mom, and some pregnancy related complication may qualify for additional medical leave time under the state rules. So in Washington, they can have to provide up to 12 weeks in many cases. Depend of some kind, they can up to 60 weeks combined leave and up to 18 weeks where pregnancy or birth complication result in some incapacity. So they can have up to 18 weeks, let's say that. But beyond the law, employees should build compassion practice, you know, like a flexible return to work, planning, manager training, private room space, and clear communication before they go on leave, during the leave, and after return. So I
Mhm.
try to do that a lot, Rikisha. Like, hey, did you apply ready for your Washington paid medical leave? Oh, I need to apply. Like, do it because take a time. It's not immediately. And when you have, give me information. Are you planning to come back? Are you planning to come back full time? Or are you planning to come back just part time? I give them the opportunity to like, oh, I think I'm coming back just part time. Oh, can I have the baby first and let you know later? Like, absolutely, whenever. Just keep me posted. So I always try to get in touch with them when they are leave. So
Yeah.
we also can planning in our side how to prepare if the person is going to come back or if the person is not going to come back at all.
Mhm. And that's so good. And even as you're just sharing all this amazing information, I'm learning so much just by listening to you. And it just shows the need to have a key HR professional within businesses, within community. And so when it comes to HR professionals and playing a role in advancing maternal health, workplace equity, and mental health wellness for mothers, how do you see that evolving or unfolding like within the Shades of Motherhood network?
So I say that HR can be the bridge between the law and the lived experience for the employee. So HR set kind of the tone where the women feel safe disclosing a pregnancy, requesting for help, take leave, or return after childbirth. So a strong HR function trains and help support the manager to create the compliant policies, be aware of the policies or what we have in place, work with the prevention of retaliation is really important, and encourage respectful communication. But we also has the we and I say as HR, we also has the responsibility to humanize the process. Like maternal health is not just a medical issues.
Mm,
It's also a workplace issue, it's an equity issue, it's a mental health issue. So the way a workplace respond can either or reduce the stress or amplify it.
mhm.
So I can see a lot of women just resign before the baby born because it's so much stress
Right.
coming before her leave, or not decide to come back at all because they know they're not going to accommodate them
Mhm.
on what they need. So it is really important that the HR humanize this process.
Hmm. Absolutely, because in the work that you do, you really help again bring that level of understanding and really help to facilitate to make things run much more smoothly in the organization. And, this year's theme around the conference for Black Maternal Health Week is Speak, Observe, Understand, and Lead. And so, from your perspective as both a psychologist and an HR consultant, what message would you share with women who feel unheard or unsupported in the workplace?
So I always say your experience matters, your health matters, and ask for support does not make you difficult. It makes you informed and responsible. So you speak clearly, state what exactly you need. That's the most important, Ricochet. Sometimes people just don't verbalize what they need. So speak clearly and
Mhm.
observe how your employer respond. The way your employers will respond also can dictate if you want to come back to that employer. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
understand your rights is the most important part. I keep and say that when we put underrepresented people or like women pregnant as a victim, we take from them their voices. So I
Mhm.
don't want to keep treating people as a victim, and how we get out of this situation, understand your rights. So then you can speak for yourself and you can, get better opportunities, but
Mhm.
also understand your responsibilities and your options.
Yeah.
So, and lead by refusing to minimize what you need to stay healthy and safe.
Mm.
So many women stay silent because they don't want to be seen as a weak person or emotional person or inconvenient, but silence of protect systems. And
Mhm.
the system never was built to support women well. So your voice matter.
And I love that. Just encouraging women to let them know, as you shared, that they don't have to back down, but let their voices be heard and being able to communicate that clearly. And if they don't know how to communicate that clearly, to really connect to a person such as yourself, Patricia, to help them to navigate those environments.
Yeah.
Patricia, if there was one change within workplace policy across the country to better support pregnant women and mothers, what would that be for you and why?
So I keep on thinking on that, and I could not think in one. I think they're interconnected, it's kind of two. So if I could change one policy across the country, I would create a universal, clear, paid job protected leave framework that
Mm,
is easier for employees to understand and easier for employers to administer as well. Okay, so right now, too much depends on employer size, state, policy language, and whether the employee has the knowledge or confidence to ask the right question. So that creates inequalities, So women's ability to recover from childbirth, bond with her baby, manage a pregnancy complication should not depend on how informed her supervisor is or what state she
mm,
lives in.
Mhm.
So, but I also would love to see it a federal program that support organization and provide a child care for employees,
Mm.
with an incentive like tax reliefs for many work parents, especially single moms.
Yeah.
Access to childcare is one of the biggest barriers to stay in the workforce and maintain consistent performance. Like this would be my wish, like we have a federal clear policy that everybody can have access and universal, not depend of the size of employers, whatever. But
Mhm.
also, we have so many laws that to protect the kids, which should have, but
Mhm.
how we can do all this and keep the women on a workforce. So that's would be my suggestion if I could make some change.
That's amazing because anything is possible because, laws are being implemented, policies are being implemented all of the time. So who knows? You could be a pioneer or a forerunner to be able to
Right.
to championing these things, Patricia. And so, for those that are listening and they're listening in, maybe it is a small business owner or an organization, a nonprofit, and they're thinking, I need an HR representative. Where can they find you, Patricia? How can they connect with you? What would they need to do to get in touch with you?
Well, they can email me on hr@efficienthr.info. They can also call me on 509-919-2174, and we can go from there. I also would love to them to get in on my website, and I need to get in my website because a little bit different. It's a www.efficient-hr.com, and over there has more information. I want to share with you, Rikisha, that one thing that calls my attention a lot in the United States was even me studying in HR on a government and private and nonprofit. I never received an onboarding that showed
Mhm.
me any laws, nothing, not in the government, not in private sector. So when I learned that we had so many laws, so many protection, I was surprised. I had no idea because never, no one showed me on my onboarding. So this is one thing that I do differently with my clients, that when I lead onboarding, I make sure all my employees understand this law exists, that the
Mhm.
organization follows them. If the organization work with me, they need to follow those laws, and
Mhm.
that they have the right to ask the question and request support. And I don't care, it doesn't matter how fluent someone it is in English or not, or how familiar they are with the system. Everyone deserves access to that information, So today, what surprised me is not how often the problem is not the absence of laws, because the laws exist. What surprised me is the absence of information,
Hmm.
so, and we need HR that is much more communicative with employees and employers to make sure that they are in compliance and our employees and employers are protected.
Absolutely. And just the fact that you shared that when you onboarded, that no one went over the laws, the policies with you, but that many times when we go through those experiences, it's a stepping stone to lead us into our path. And so I can hear the passion in your voice to ensure that people are educated and knowing about these policies, that they know their rights as they are working with these different organizations. So again, you are that bridge that brings awareness and understanding. And I know that I have truly been enlightened by our conversation. I learned a lot today, and it has been a pleasure hosting you on this show today.
Thank you so much. And I am really happy that I could share some of my experience here and my knowledge. And I hope a lot of people can get some benefit from that podcast.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Patricia, and you have a great day now.
You too.